Hi, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Exploring Our Irresistible Passion. I really do love that title. So, we're going to go into power, and it's your power. I have to start with a prayer. My new book that I've been working on for years, it's called The Holy Language. Prayer, Guidance, and Grace. And I might read some of it because I bring it along because I have to work on it a little bit every day. And I've left some of it in my room, but I'm thinking I might test some of the prayers on you. I haven't decided that, so I left it downstairs so I wouldn't be tempted, but I am going to probably do that because
Why, hello.
Hello.
Louder, David.
Louder?
Yeah, you can talk a little louder.
Okay. So it's my fault. So, at any rate, part of why I'm even writing this book has a great deal to do with why I want to do this workshop and this type of workshop. And this book was a long time in coming, and I actually have, still louder? Still louder? Wow. You think something about the space? Wait a minute, what if I moved myself?
We're good now. That's enough to do.
Okay.
That's about as good as we can get right now.
Okay.
Before it starts getting goofy.
It's better.
It's better.
It's better? It's better?
I like better.
Okay, better is good. Better is good. Okay, let me get, is this better?
Yes.
Is this better? See? Okay, so I'll come up here. All right, so let me explain. Yep. Part of, I actually have someone in the audience, Sue Helms, sitting there. You didn't meet, but Sue's been part of my life for years and years and years, and she's actually my gardener, and she's a magic gardener, and she became a magic friend. So Sue knows, she'll come through the garden and she'll say, how are you doing? And I'm working on that book. But this particular book is something I didn't want to write. And because I did not want to write a book on prayer ever, or go into this particular subject. But nothing else would work for me. And I've probably written 3,000 pages of other books that went nowhere. And I'm not kidding. And I want to share this, not because I like to, kind of show you the inside of a frustrating office, but because I'm going to talk to you about your journey of power, which is what it is. And I think there's so much about the mystical journey that is, for me, so phenomenal in that it is in our blood and in our bones. It's in the day of our life. It's in the grit of our life. It's in the it's in the anguish of our life, and it's in the triumph, and it's in the final letting go and finally saying, I'm going to do this. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do this. And even in the agreement, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And why would this be so difficult for me? And maybe we'll talk about it, maybe not, but it's the point is that you're oftentimes directed to do what you just don't want to do. And even in discovering why you don't want to do it, there is a treasure and an anguish. And this is the nature of what I have come to understand as the divine. Now, when we talk about power, and it's the only, to me, I want to repeat that power is the fundamental ingredient of life. And one of the jewels in your pocket now is that I want you to see your life and everything in your life, every experience in your life, everything about your life as a power negotiation. every word you use, every attitude you have, is this going to disempower me? Am I doing something to disempower another? Is this disempowering my health? Is this disempowering the whole? Am I afraid to empower this person? Even a compassionate thought disempowers. Do I need to have a horrible thought about this group of people to disempower them from a better life here? Everything you do is a power negotiation. Everything you wear. I went, Beth and Janet in the back are two of my closest friends, are like my sisters. And we have adventures. And one of the adventures that Beth and I often do in London is go to this Fortnum and Mason, and they have a place, where they sell vintage la-di-da clothes. And they sell fascinators. Now Beth and Janet can wear fascinators because God gave them real hair, but me, right? And I'm recovering from the world's worst haircut. I don't know, but there it is. But anyway, we go and Beth can wear these fascinators. And I was with a friend and I put one on with what do you call that, a pheasant feather? And she said, oh yes, that's you. And I just looked at her, right? But there was a dress there that was one of those dresses that you could dream about wearing, right? And I can put my body into something like that. And I put it on. Do you remember that, Beth? And it had all these jewels, huh?
The pumpkin color.
Yes, and it had all those jewels and all of these kind of gorgeous. And I stood there and I thought, I love this dress. And if I walked out on the street with it, if I went anywhere in it, everybody would say, it's not Halloween. It's a set, but I don't have the archetype. I don't have, and here's the operative word, I don't have the power. There's nothing in me that could empower me in that gorgeous, gorgeous, stunning, thousands of pound gown. That on me would disempower me, even though it was a luscious piece of high fashion. But if you don't know your power, now Janet in that would not get out of the court. But I can't do that. I don't have that kind of goddess archetype. Okay, so I can't, even though this gown was like thousands of dollars, probably worn by who knows who, and I don't, but I can't do it. It doesn't, I don't have the archetype that goes whoosh, and animates it. Now it's really important to know this. It's important to know what power really is. So that when you think about, I have to take my power back, what are you talking about? From what? Who are you talking about? You want to walk up to someone and say, give me my power back. What are you talking about? You have to know your own power, period. You have to know you, where you belong and where you don't, what your lane is, and how to manage your lane so it becomes a highway. Nobody has your power. If you don't have it, no one else does. You've never animated it. You abdicate it. It's up to you to begin to understand what your power is. And it's never mattered until now. Because we've never lived in the era of invisible power until now in the way that we do. Now is what this era is all about. Is the era of our invisible anatomical system, our invisible nature, our quantum nature. So now it matters. So now you actually feel yourself hemorrhaging power. You actually feel it. Before the quantum age, before the nuclear age, before we were nuclear creatures, we didn't measure ourselves like this. We didn't think like this. We didn't have the vocabulary, the tools. We didn't live in that world. Power was physical. We measured it in stuff and in substance and in the class of people we were, and in aristocracy, and in our capacity to push people around and stomp on them. And now we're moving through. And shortly before that, even as recent as the late 1800s, people still, amazingly in Russia, where they still had serfs. Lenin was the child of a serf. They would actually have card games and bet serfs. Bet human beings. It's incomprehensible. But that we are such primates. We are just a century away from being that type of creature, where that was acceptable, to bet human beings. I'll bet you 1,000 serfs on this poker game. And it meant nothing. It meant nothing. But that was an acceptable part, depending on where you lived. So let us not kid ourselves that we are that advanced. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
Let's not think that we've just, boy, have we made inroads. No, we haven't. No, we haven't. No, we haven't. No, we haven't. And in fact, what we're facing in our country is, look how easy it is for us to go backwards.
Right.
We're still making pipe bombs and whatever. I mean, it's astonishing. Oh, I say our country. I forget that I'm in Canada. I'm going south of here. Okay, so someone took my artwork away. Silly. Someone removed my artwork. Well, we'll fix that. Okay. Wow. Well, goodness me. Okay, in these pieces of these illustrations that most of you have seen before, those have not, you're in for a treat. But they're simple, but they work, and they illustrate points I want to make about you in power. And honestly, I learned so much from being a medical intuitive about what I didn't realize about us, which is we are really power creatures. We're invisible power creatures. When I started out, there's a reason why God maneuvers you to do things. Let me explain something here. Your ego chooses a life that you fantasize about. So it gets all the fantasies out. And your ego, the life your ego chooses is often the life that's filled with all your negativity, all your negative ambitions, as well as your fantasy ambitions, as well as, it's kind of like a garbage bag. It includes a lot of that stuff. The life your soul, the agenda your soul has, on the other hand, is the path that knows what your actual power is. And it's the kind of power your ego, if it knew, is turned off by, because it's very rarely glamorous. It's very rarely the kind of thing that shimmers and shines at the offset. It's very rarely full of Tiffany diamonds in the beginning. Because the life that your soul knows you have, and the power you have there, is all about what you can do for others. And the ego, it's usually what you want for yourself. And there's a defining difference. The ego in you is motivated by there's not enough, what about me? The soul in you is what about them? What about them? Somebody's got to do something for them. When I wrote Invisible Acts of Power, I'll never forget this story. This woman told me she was homeless. She was homeless. And she looks across at a woman who was homeless and thought, oh my God, that poor woman's homeless, but so was she. And in that moment, she forgot about herself and prayed for that woman who was homeless and said, God help her. God help her. And a few minutes later, a priest came over to this woman praying for that woman and said, you look hungry. And he said, you know, we have a shelter over here. And he brought her in and that woman. And he got to talking to her. Next thing you know, he said, you know, what skills do you have? She said, well, I could do a little typing, whatever. Next thing you know, she was the parish secretary. And it just so happened he had a room there, not much, but she could stay there. Next thing you know, she ran the parish. Okay? And the whole thing she prayed for. She forgot about herself, of the power of the soul. Like, this is that whole concept that it's very hard for the ego to grapple with that. The longest journey of our lives is between our ego and our soul. That's the longest journey you will ever make. It's between the life of your ego and the life of your soul. And I need to make this disclaimer. When I speak about the soul, I am not speaking about anything religious at all. The soul has no religion and it never did. Any more than there's a God that has a religion or any allegiance to a religion. Whatever the divine is, it does not belong to a religion, nor does it have a religion. So let us be very clear about that. The only thing that is common to the divine is law. The laws that run your body, the laws that run this universe, the laws that run nature. And in that you're going to find the nature of the divine. What are laws? Consistent. You can count on them. And if you break them, you can count on karma. You can count on what Jesus said, what goes around comes around, as above, so below. This place is organized. Make no mistake, angels have realms, spirits have kingdoms, planets have orbits, and you have purpose. None of you is an apple rolling from a tree. Your life has laws built into it, a contract. Just because your ego panics and says, but there's not enough, that's when your soul should take your ego and put it in a toilet for 7 minutes. Because you're bitching, I want more, not enough, not enough, not enough, not enough. So I get to have a nice tea. Okay. Okay, so I need to just position us again because I want you to have a couple of images that I'm going to be referring to. And this, of course, is that wonderful building. And your first floor is base level consciousness, where you take everything literally, where you believe what you see. This is the place you pay your mortgage. This is the place where we all share time. And as we go up on the floor, time gets what? Relative. On the 4th floor, time is not the same for any of us. Because time is a made-up thing. And it's really hard for me to communicate how that happens. But I learned that through medical intuition. I learned that through the speed at which people heal. Why is that relative? Why is healing relative? Why, and I'll get to that in a minute, so don't distract me. So, it's your fault. Okay. Now, and this is where, as we are speaking this time together, when we come up to a high voltage principle, something that, a major league truth, like God is law, versus a persona that's living somewhere out there, a daddy figure. Now that's a great big huge transition in consciousness that a lot of people can't make. Here's God as human, here's God as law. Now there's a lot of people that will say, I'm sorry, but I'm sticking right here. I need a human concept. I need a daddy figure. And I need all that's involved with that power relationship. I need to think that when I'm disempowered, I can pray like a child. This is archetypal. And have a daddy swoop in. I need a parent-child relationship, which makes me feel that whatever I do wrong, daddy will make right. Now this archetypal relationship is very, very destructive, extremely destructive in your archetypal roots. It's also the source of many depressions, so much depression. It's also the reason people won't heal in many cases, because they just grit their teeth and think, I'm so miserable about this life, and if I'm miserable enough, daddy will come fix it and give me the life I want. So it's a really tough myth to let go of. It's this idea that it's a personal universe. Personal. Personal. But if I put you in the Hubble telescope and said, get out there, and you started passing this galaxy, and you got to the Sombrero galaxy, or you got to any of the other out there, it would be very hard for you to maintain this off-planet image of the construct of an Abrahamic religion from planet Earth. Do you see what I'm saying? Whereas the idea that there's a divine being that has constructed all this in an orderly way, that can take the journey with you. So, at some point, we make the transition to impersonal power. From personal to impersonal, and that is huge. That is your major transition. That's going to be a major transition point where how a person manages your power is not about what you say to someone else. I'm going to get my power back. You have my power. You'll never get your power back that way. You just are always going to be angry and screaming and disempowered, because that works for you. You're a screaming person. You're a screaming, angry person, and your way of getting your power back is you'll show them, you will scream, and you will have tantrums, and you'll be difficult, and you'll have to complain. And this is your level of power. Loud, public. Loud and public. So that shift to realizing, I just want to punish others. I just want to make them know I'm suffering. I have an agenda here. to shifting to none of this was personal ever. None of it. I am assuming all these people here are here to serve my life when no one is, and I have got to grapple with that. And that is a hard truth to swallow. So this is the difference. Down here, things are true. Up here, things are truth. Big, huge, great big, huge difference. What is true and what is truth? What is true and what is truth? Big, huge journey. What is true will never heal you. It will make you sick. Truth heals. True makes you sick. Because what is true is relative. What is true for you is true for you. But there's no truth in it. What is true for me is true for me. It is true that in the room I'm standing in, I see all your faces. It is also true that you do not, and we're in the same room. Everything is relative. So, this journey of power, prior to the nuclear age, this type of microcosmic thinking wouldn't have made any difference. We wouldn't have even been able to comprehend it. Any more than if you said to someone in the 1920s, there's going to be a box on your desk someday, you could hit a button that says send and reach everybody in the universe in 1 second. And it's going to go through the air. It's going to hit this flying thing in the space. And then it's going to just communicate to everybody in the whole wide world. There's no way you could communicate that. There's no way you could prove it. There isn't even a way you could make it seem scientific, because the language wasn't invented. The concepts weren't invented. Our way of thinking wasn't invented. There was nothing about it. The groundwork, the foundation, nothing. Our wiring wasn't in place to even comprehend such a thing. We were all dense creatures here. Too dense. The moment hadn't come for us, for our quantum wiring to open up. But when we entered the nuclear age, in that 1 second, in that 1 microsecond when it went poof, our wiring opened. Instantly, the whole of humanity, we went, and we became energetic creatures. Just like that. The glass, that, what do we call that thing? Hourglass shifted. And we went to the other side. And now we have to understand the nature of our power anatomy. The anatomy of our power. Because this is really the sort, when I look at people who are experiencing, madness, they're experiencing all kinds of dysfunctions, their loss of power, their loss of energy, their loss of stamina, autism, all the many disorders that are happening now that did not happen pre-nuclear age. These are energy disorders.